Thank you. We have translation during your speech, yes.
Well,
Thank you.
We are obviously quite concerned in the process of the policy making of the new administration to consider what it is that we are all quite focused on, which is the instrument of pressure for diplomacy to succeed. If the behavior change is going to be one of the solicited outcomes, how can you really bring pressure on the issue? And that's a discussion I had with some MPs in Europe for the past few weeks, including my recent trip to London. One of the elements that has never been factoring in 30 years of dealing with the regime has been the people themselves, because they happen to be the biggest leverage that the world can have and we can have against the regime. But there hasn't been any kind of dialogue or empowerment of those forces. So we do hope that the current administration will consider some practical elements, see in what way they can include that factor into whatever consideration they have in engagement, which happens to be the buzzword these days.
Right.
But they have to include that. If it's once again going to be negotiation for the sake of negotiation, we can rest assured that we cannot expect any different outcome than we've seen so far. Except for we're getting ever closer to the bomb without getting anything on the other side. That ought to be the key focus, whoever is that. So we would like very much to find avenues where we can at least hope to develop some kind of an approach and give and take to incorporate into the policy recommendation to Mr. Obama and whoever it will end up at talking about him as Secretary of State. And hopefully we can work with you guys.
Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you.
We look forward to keeping in touch.
Prince, may I ask you a question? My name is Hossein, one of the members here. The question is here, the U.S. government has certain questions about the future of democracy in Iran. They want to hear from you one more time. I think this lady wasn't here, and that was the part that you have stated repeatedly. It is up to the people of Iran to choose their own government.
Of course.
And you don't want to become a king, or you don't want to be a president. It's up to the people of Iran to choose. And whatever that is, whether it's going to be a constitutional monarchy, whether it's going to be a republic, it's going to be a system of checks and balances. Would you explain on that a little bit more?
Of course. As I said, this is not a time where anybody is running for office. What we are basically suggesting is that we are facing a theocracy, a modern-day theocracy. We believe the majority of the Iranian people who are outside of this equation believe that only under a secular parliamentary democracy can we achieve the kind of future that Iran ought to have and deserves, if we truly want to get out of the current crisis domestically and as well as the international consequences of having to deal with such a regime. So clearly, no matter what orientation we have ideologically, on the right or on the left or Republican or monarchist, it is to have a commonality of purpose in the objective of securing a constitutional system of government, which of course will have a constitution based on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I think this is one of the key points. As far as what the ultimate form would be, that is subject to parliamentary debate, and ultimately a referendum can settle the score on that issue. Because I think the content is important, the form truly doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you look at Germany and France as opposed to Sweden or Belgium, I don't think that you will see any drastic differences, although it's under two different forms. I think that's really what we are facing here. There can be only two kinds of Iranians today facing the situation at home: those who are with this regime and those who find themselves outside of this regime and against it. This is the broad coalition of democratic forces that I think today have to find commonality of purpose, and I believe they have. However, we can talk until we're blue in the face. If we do not find means of enforcement or application within Iran proper, and that ought to be also part of the international concern, because whatever pressure has been exerted on this regime so far, albeit in the form of UN sanctions, economic, etc., until this external pressure does not translate itself into some kind of domestic pressure, it will neither achieve our goals as a nation trying to free ourselves from this regime, nor would it achieve the foreign countries' diplomatic pressure on the regime to force it to change its behavior. So these are the tangible elements that we need to all work on, and it is on that basis that I think a dialogue needs to be established between foreign governments that have dealt with this regime all these years, this time opening another avenue of talk, parallel to their dialogue with the current regime, with the people of Iran and the representatives of the democratic forces of the country who represent the majority of Iranians who find themselves out of the system.
Prince, may I ask you another question here? What are the
Last question.
What are the discrete steps that you could see the Western world could make to people of Iran in helping to perhaps make their own decisions and exercise the right of self-determination? What kind of help do you see?
Well, obviously, these are. I can only express myself currently based on this question in very broad terms. As to the mechanics of it and the details, it could be subject to a number of give and take that can be a result of various commissions that can, in fact, entertain and host delegations of Iranian specialists and experts or representatives of various sectors of society who can certainly describe in what way actually they can best be helped in that sense. But in general terms, what I can say is that we need, when I say we, I mean we the Iranian people, need to facilitate for the world, for them to understand when we say the alternative, what is it, who is it, where is it, and how can we contact them. That's our job, not theirs. But once we have provided that, our expectation from the world is to give us the opportunity to express ourselves and to be able to communicate our needs and desires to legislators, to policymakers, and to decision makers, so we can together achieve a goal that I think is of mutual interest, both in terms of Iranian national interests as well as the interests of many like-minded countries who believe in democracy and human rights. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prince.
Good to meet you.
I want to meet you.
درود به همیهنان عزیز. تلفنی دادن دست من، مثل که صدا داره زنده پخش می شود و فقط خواستم از این فرصت استفاده کرده و خاطر نشان بکنم به بسیاری از همیهنان عزیزمون که واقعا یک جو مساعد امروز در جهان می بینم که به فکر ایران هستند. بسیاری از همیهنانتون و امیدوارم که در این راه همگی کوشا و نهایتا موفق باشیم. با سپاس.